477.
Welcome back to Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always get on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you can download podcasts from the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And I'm thrilled to be joined here in studio by John Weber, the Executive Director of MBDA Capital. John, you have an impressive resume and career in banking, which led you to this role, which we'll talk about in a moment. Tell us a little bit about your experience and perhaps what you've learned and enjoyed along the way.
Thank you, Shalom. It's just a real pleasure to be here tonight. I really appreciate the energy in this room. Yes, so 33 years in banking. Probably shouldn't tell you the number of years, but that's true. As a commercial banker, I've learned a lot about companies and what it takes for them to obtain capital. So it's a perfect fit for this job. But I think the thing I love the most about it is really working with the clients.
Absolutely. And I know that that your firm, MBDA Capital, you work quite a bit with minority business owners, linking them, being a matchmaker of sorts with capital sources. Tell us a little bit about the different approach that you are able to employ now versus when you were in the more traditional and mainstream banking world.
That is a fantastically insightful question that you just asked. It's very interesting because one of the things you learn as a banker is that every bank has a box that they want things to fit into. What we find today, what is very liberating about this job for me today is that we need to find capital for all types of businesses. So before, when I found something that wasn't in the box, I'd have to say thank you, but no thank you. Here, we can go to many other capital providers. I'm not limited by one.
Very, very interesting. So I know I've thrown around that term minority business owners. What does that mean? Who are minority business owners?
So minority business owners defined by the U.S. government as Black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, American Indian, and Hasidic Jews. And any one of those categories of ethnic people, if they own a business, 51% or more, we can work with them.
Interesting. So once again, we're chatting with John Weber, the Executive Director of the MBDA Capital Center. Tell us a little bit about the history of MBDA and the work that you've been doing. I believe preceded you.
Yes, it's a very good question, and a little bit of trivia. You may not know this, but the person who started the MBDA was Richard Nixon in 1969. And MBDA stands for the Minority Business Development Agency, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. And they have done a fantastic job over the years of creating jobs, creating empowerment, and creating work and growth for minority-owned businesses. Interesting.
So very interesting shoes that you have to fill, and doing it incredibly, fulfilling an incredibly important function, helping folks that might otherwise not have access to capital, and certainly that very, very specific focus that MBDA provides certainly is a tremendous resource to so many people. Let's talk about the type of capital that you're able to be a matchmaker for. On the low end, what is that? And on the high end, what is it?
Certainly. And it's very interesting you say that because there's two sides to every story. And we like to believe that for the investor, there's a lot of companies out there that they have no access to or they're not aware of. And so what we're trying to do is raise the awareness of some companies that might be very attractive to some investors. On the low end, we really work with companies that pre-revenue stage, so angel capital, very seed capital type companies. And then on the high end, we're doing some very sophisticated things with large companies. I was just talking about a deal that if and when it's fully funded could be upwards of $750 million of investment.
Fascinating. And we're going to continue our discussion with John Weber, the Executive Director of MBDA, connecting, matchmaking, I love that term, matchmaking capital resources with minority-owned businesses and minority business owners. Very interested to hear statistics. I believe there's a lot of data that's out there from the U.S. Census on this, as well as the process of what is involved. We're going to have to take a quick break. But John, curious if you can share with us as we go to break one of your recent successes.
Sure thing. So we're very new. We just received our grant a few months ago, and so we're essentially a startup right now. But we're working on several transactions today that are very close to coming to fruition, and there are a lot of different sizes. But for example, one that we're working on today is a company that is in a small town, and it's a main employer in the town. And it's had some financial difficulties, but I have an owner that would like to buy that company, and the bank's ready to help him, and that would preserve about 30 or 40 jobs. So that would be a great success for us.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we'll be sure to, of course, make sure that our listeners know how to get a hold of you so they know how to connect you, be the matchmaker for you with folks that can benefit from the services of the MBDA, the Minority Business Development Agency. Fascinating trivia and history over there. The only federal agency dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of U.S. minority-owned businesses. Fascinating. Once again, after this quick break, we'll talk some more about the statistics of minority business owners, as well as the process of how people can work with you, John. We'll be right back after this very quick break. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We'll return in a moment.